Do you have a bunch of plants that you're wondering why aren't they looking so well, whether they're in the ground or especially in containers? You're definitely going to find this in container gardening a lot. There's always going to be something wrong with our plants. Maybe there's stunted growth, maybe they're not offering a lot of fruit production, and there could be something, a missing ingredient, missing nutrient in the soil, and we're going to find out what that is today. What's going on, my plant peoples? I am the ADHD gardener, where I use gardening, houseplants, and humor as a much needed form of mental health therapy, sobriety, and also ADHD tips and tricks on how to navigate the world using our garden. And we're going to be talking about mycorrhiza. This video may be a little on the boring side, however, highly informative. So please stay to the end of the video when it comes to mycorrhiza fungus. Now you're thinking, why would we need fungus in the soil? This is where it is, because mycorrhiza fungus, and also as well as mycelium, they work symbiotically in the soil for the nutrients of our plants. It does a lot of things. So as I'm going around putting mycorrhiza into the soil, I'm going to be talking about the different benefits and what happens if you do not have mycorrhiza or any other fungus inside of your soil. There's a lot of nutrients in the soil that has an issue or has a hard time, very slow, being uptaken by the plants, because there is something missing in the soil, and that is mycorrhiza. There's two ways that mycorrhiza can work with plants. One is obligatory, which means that that plant has to have mycorrhiza inside of that soil in order for it to thrive. Some trees like oak and pine trees are obligatory. That means that without mycorrhiza in that soil, that tree will not survive. Another term is called facultatory. That means that some trees like maple, birch, and aspen, they do not need mycorrhiza in order to grow. However, they will grow a lot better if mycorrhiza is present in the soil. If our soil sucks, if our soil does not have the proper pH, the nutrients, and also mycorrhizal fungi, then our plants are going to have a hard time growing to this optimal size and fruit production and everything like that. The reason why is because this enhances the root structure of that tree, of that plant. And not only does it enhance it, it stretches it out and it reaches further out into other areas of the soil, other neighboring trees, and it just brings this like network of fungi underneath the soil. This is where all the nutrients are transported through the root system. Now, if we can enhance the root system, if we can extend that root system, this is where the mycorrhiza is going to happen, because that's going to help and aid in everything that we wanted to do, all that fun work underneath the soil. Some plant nutrients like phosphorus, which is absolutely needed for root growth and also fruit production, is very slow inside of the soil. It's an insoluble nutrient, which means it needs something else in order to help it process and get reuptake into the plant. And what happens is that if there is no mycorrhizal in the soil, then it's going to have an incredibly hard time, incredibly slow time for it to get reuptake into the soil. That means that it's going to get reflected the way your plants look. They may get stunted, they just may not have that great root development, and the plant's not going to look the best at all. That is where the mycorrhiza comes in, because one of the beneficial things about mycorrhiza is that it enhances root growth. So what happens is that underneath the soil, the roots are going to be extended out. Aside from extending the root growth, is going to be extending even further out into the soil, reaching onto that phosphorus and then helping it get reuptake into the plant soil. If you don't have that, then that plant may look stunted, may have poor growth, and this is where this is so beneficial. Mycorrhiza is definitely important to be adding into your container plants. It really is, because remember, the soil is sterilized. So that means every time you go to the store and you buy those bags of soil and you want to put it in your containers, those bags of soil do not have mycorrhiza fungi. They probably don't even have a lot of nutrients. They have to incorporate and add those nutrients back into the soil, but they don't add mycorrhiza fungi. There are a few brands of soil, like soil bags, that do have this incorporated. I believe Fox Farm is one of them. I want to say there's a Happy Frog, I believe. Don't take this as gospel. You can always look this up. But I want to say that those are very high quality soil. And I'm assuming that they must be having or adding this. If not, it's all good. Their quality soil is still great. We can always just add this onto it. Adding this is not necessarily a nutrient, however, it enhances the nutrients around it, and that's what's super beneficial. If you were to go into your compost pile, you're probably going to be seeing some type of fungal activity. If you were to go into take a hike in the woods and you look underneath the trees where all the leaves are, there's going to be some fungal activity, and it's going to look white. It's going to look like a white web. It's going to look like fine white roots. It mimics looking like roots, but it grows in the same web-like fashion underneath the soil. So if you were to go into your compost pile right now and you were turning it, and let's say you had like decomposing wood, like branches or stems or parts of even a tree, a log, you may see some white activity. I know that there's fungal activity inside of that compost pile happening. So what we can do is take from that compost and put it into our soil, and that is what we do when we're inoculating our soil. And now, if I don't have a compost, maybe you don't have any of that, it's okay, because we can actually take it and buy it from the store. Like, I bought this from Amazon, but you can buy mycorrhiza in liquid or powder form. Now, I have a powder form right here, and we're going to be inoculating all of my containers that I have here. This is what is going to help aiding a lot of these plants, because right now, let me tell you, a lot of these plants look like crap. If you add this right on top in like powdery fashion right on top of your soil, it's gonna die. It's not gonna work, and it's not gonna reflect in your plants. That means when you're putting it in your containers or in your garden soil, it has to be under the ground. Ideally, when you're transplanting your plants, you would be putting this at the bottom of your little hole before you transplant your little plant. That's gonna help in the root, definitely development, because it's right there under the soil. If you already have your plants above the soil, it's all good. We're just gonna dig a little hole around the plant in the soil close to the roots, and then we're gonna drop that powder in. Eventually, over time, we will be watering right on top of it so it can start to really get incorporated, but it has to be, one, close to the root system, and two, definitely underneath the soil, away from the sun. One cool thing about fungi and mycorrhiza and mycelium is that it does not burn your plants. Okay, you know how when sometimes you put your granular fertilizers or your liquid fertilizers on your plants, and then some of them just die because maybe the concentration was too much or it was too much nutrients all in one shot? Your plants will not burn with mycorrhiza fungi. It really won't. The only thing though, if you do add too much of this, your plant will just straight up die. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Your plants won't get stunted out. They'll just die altogether. Now, the bag that I'm using right now, it says 1 to 2 teaspoons per plant. Now, you know, I'm going to start off in the beginning with 1 teaspoon and then see how that goes. Eventually, maybe next year, maybe later on into the summer or something, I can add a 2nd teaspoon, because sometimes these you have to add more than one time. Okay, depending on how depleted your soil is, depending on how bad your plants are, you may want to incorporate another added teaspoon of this. But remember, if you put too much, it may die. Just know that. But then again, it won't burn. So it's like a, with trial and error type of deal. Just follow the instructions on the bag. So in this bag, this has 3, 4, 5 different type of mycorrhiza. Now, let me know, correct me down in the comments below. What do you know about mycorrhiza? Have you tried using this before in your soil? Do let me know, because I really, really know that this is definitely going to help. I know it for a fact. I'm telling you, this is the benefits of organic gardening. We're going to be, instead of working against nature, we're working with nature to be doing this. And this is why I'm always incorporating organic ways, natural ways of boosting our plants in our garden, because I refuse to use chemicals. I refuse to use pesticides. It does do, we have to work a lot more into our garden, but let me tell you, how rewarding would it be? How much dopamine can we get from our plants once they start growing really well? It makes us happy, which in turn feeds our reward dopamine system. So that means the better our plants do, the better we feel. And I'm not saying that, that's a problem, because if your plants are struggling and having a hard time, it's okay, because we can still keep trying. And that's all that we can do. We learn from failure. So if if your plant dies, it's all good, because we learned what is missing, what we messed up on, and then we can try to incorporate it and change it and fix it for the next time. This is all a learning process, so don't beat yourself up if something goes wrong. It's all good. How long have I been doing this and I'm still learning? It's learning. Gardening is a learning process. So don't be hard on yourself, I really hope you enjoyed this video and you got some great information out of it. Let me know down in the comments below. Have you tried mycorrhiza fungi inside of your soil? Have you ever inoculated your soil? Do let me know. And I want to know, has it been beneficial since you have incorporated it into your soil? If you have, don't forget to smash that like button. I really appreciate it. Also, you can catch me on Facebook, Instagram, and on TikTok. I'm on there all the time. And until the next episode, you guys, you and me both, growing our happiness one plant at a time, one day at a time. I'll check y'all later in the next episode. Peace and love.